We're healthy. Bruce 717.
Hey, welcome in to Thursday edition Bruce Hooley Show. And to start the show with the plane crash in Washington, D.C. We'll have the details on that and throw it as soon as he goes to the podium. So intro music playing now momentarily. Thanks for joining us. Well, it has been quite some time since we awoke to or that we're experiencing this morning with the crash of a liner with a Black Hawk helicopter on descent into Reagan National Airport in Washington, D.C. The who've been searching the area since the crash occurred last night shortly before 9 p.m. is that there will be no survivors. 60 people on the American Airlines that was en route from Wichita, Kansas to Washington, D.C. The plane at PSA Airlines, which is a subsidiary of American. PSA Airlines is based in Dayton, Ohio, although they announced yesterday that they had planned to Charlotte, North Carolina. So it's just super tragic. People, young athletes, figure skaters who had been in Wichita for the U.S. figure skating. And the conditions were optimal for flying last night. I'm sure it was dark outside, but no lightning, no snow, no wind to speak of. And so it's a mystery as to what happened. And Donald Trump, the president of the United States, will address the House momentarily. We will throw to that as soon as he podium. It was American Airlines Flight 5342 out of Wichita. 3 soldiers flying a routine training mission on the Black Hawk helicopter. The Black Hawk helicopter did not have any top U.S. officials on it. That was a thought because the helicopter visually has a gold top on it, and those are typically for flying U.S. government officials. But this was a training mission. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said the helicopter was aware there was a plane. So they're really at a loss for how this could have happened. Here's Virginia Governor, Virginia adjacent to Washington, D.C., on his reaction and to this point in time.
It's understood to be a very routine approach. Crews in contact with air traffic control, and yet something went massively wrong. And that's going to be the work that's going to be so important. Again, air travel in the United States is the safest form. We have the safest air travel in the world, and yet something went wrong, and we've got to make sure it never happens again.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Air travel is very, very. Yet there's an oddity about it, and in that anytime a plane is late, and I just experienced over Christmas when my wife and daughters were returning from a trip to Arizona. Late, our mind instantly goes to what if the worst thing happened that could happen. And this airport in Washington, D.C., some of you may remember a crash in 1982 when a commercial airliner crashed short of landing in the Potomac River. The river last night, temperatures 37 degrees. Had anyone survived the crash, and this was unlikely given the fact that the airliner crashed into the helicopter and then the airliner broke into 3 pieces. Both were said to have lodged in the Potomac upside down. So obviously that's a very problematic situation to extricate yourself from and survive. And then you have the water temperature, which I've heard estimates 35 degrees to 37 degrees in temperatures of that nature. Hypothermia is going to set in within 15 minutes. They got responders on the scene right away. They had 800 people responding to it. But about 4 a.m. This morning, they converted it from a rescue operation to a recovery operation. So far, they have recovered, I think the last number that I saw is 28 bodies. Here is aviation expert Jay Ratliff on the assortment of things that may have contributed to this crash. Of course, we are probably closer to a year than we are 6 months from an NTSB investigation as to what caused the crash, but a lot of things are on the table, as Jay Ratliff points out right here.
Anytime that you have an accident investigation, you don't know if there was a mechanical situation that took place on either aircraft moments before the impact. There could have been something that happened that could have impaired the crew's ability to respond. You could have had a crew member with a medical episode moments before. You just don't know until the investigation is concluded as far as what's taking place. And obviously that's what the NTSB is going to do. And I've got the full utmost confidence that that group is going to do a very thorough job. And again, honor the lives of those that were so tragically lost. It shouldn't have happened.
Of course not. Of course it shouldn't have happened. That's why we have air traffic controllers. Reagan Airport is the airspace around Reagan Airport is one of the busiest in the United States. But it had been safe, as I say, since 1982, and U.S. air travel safe, no crashes, no deaths in a commercial airline crash since 2009. This is certainly going to test people like Sean Duffy, who was just confirmed as Transportation Secretary, Pete Hegseth, since this involves a military helicopter. Pete Hegseth, the new Department of Secretary of Defense, rather. Here's Pete Hegseth this morning talking about the crew of the Black Hawk helicopter that crashed into the American Airlines regional jet.
Not all kin have been notified, so we're going to withhold ranks and names at this point. We do know on our side who was involved. It was a fairly experienced crew, and it was doing a required annual night evaluation. They did have night vision goggles.
Had night vision goggles, but how, we can't possibly know if they were using them. There's just so many unknowns right now. So many unknowns. And here's Hegseth with more on the investigation that will ensue now that this tragedy has occurred.
We anticipate that the investigation will quickly be able to determine whether the aircraft was in the corridor and at the right altitude at the time of the incident. It's a tragedy, a horrible loss of life for those 64 souls on that civilian airliner, and of course, the 3 soldiers in that Black Hawk. They're in our prayers, their families and their communities. As people are notified, I can't imagine. And I know it's gone from a rescue mission to a recovery mission, and we're with all the first responders that are moving actively too. So at the Defense Department, our thoughts and prayers go out. We are actively investigating to find out what happened and why. And as we get updates, you will have them. God bless.
Yeah, and as I said, Donald Trump is supposed to address the nation from the White House very, very soon. Heartbreaking pictures from social media of people who were on board that American Airlines jet. One of them, a figure skater, supposedly a rising star in the skating community, snapped a photo of the plane's right wing moments before taking off, posted the 3-letter code for Wichita Airport and Reagan Airport, which is DCA. And there's only one flight from Wichita. There's only one flight that leaves landing at Reagan from Wichita. So it absolutely positively had to be that plane. Several coaches and parents of skaters who had competed in the U.S., I think, figure skating championships, which concluded several days ago on January the 26th, but they stayed in Wichita for a clinic. Russian media is saying that 2 people on the plane were former Olympic champions in pairs figure skating, now coaches, Vadim Nurmov and Evgenia Shishkova. So this is something that's going to devastate the figure skating community. It's something that's going to capture headlines around the world. It's always tragic. It's as safe as it is. It never leaves anyone's mind. Anytime I don't know, maybe you're not a nervous flyer. I didn't used to be a nervous flyer, and then I married one. She's turned me into one. But when you're in a plane and when you get turbulence and when you're bumping around, and in this case, it certainly would appear that everything was fine. They were less than 30 seconds from landing. Now, I did hear one aviation expert this morning say that there is a crash avoidance system in airliners such that if another airliner is within a certain range of you, that you get a warning, and pilots are warned, you got to climb or you got to descend or whatever. So this is one of the many technological features of modern aircraft. Unfortunately, I've since found out that system does not engage below 1,000 feet. And this American Airlines regional jet was at 400 feet. So you're just ready to touch down, when this Black Hawk helicopter on a training mission ran right into it. And there's video of it, a fireball. You can see both aircraft descend into the Potomac, and not surprising that we're hearing that all 60 passengers on the plane, 4 crew members, and all 3 military personnel on the Black Hawk helicopter perished in this horrific crash. So when Donald Trump goes to the podium, we'll go there as well. We'll be back with that momentarily.
Increasing cloudiness this afternoon, the mild air increasing the risk of ice jams on the area rivers. High today 47, periods of rain tonight low 41. Rain and breezy for tomorrow, the high 54. Cooler on Saturday, clouds and breaks of sunshine, the high at 41. Mostly cloudy, mild day on Sunday, the high 54. Clouds and a couple of showers around for Monday, the high at 53. I'm Steve Williams on 98.9 FM, The Answer.
Making America great again starts with making America healthy again. You know, I lost over 50 pounds on the PhD weight loss and nutrition program. Nearly 3 years later, I've kept it off. You know why? Because I trusted Dr. Ashley Lucas and the terrific team at PhD Weight Loss. They've been making America healthy for over 10 years. Millions are being spent on weight loss injections that have harmful side effects and lifelong dependency. Do what I did. Take the natural approach that isn't connected to Big Pharma's bottom line. Based on science and nutrition, a proven roadmap that has helped over 8,000 clients lose weight and keep it off. You'll learn how to quiet the cravings, finally release that unhealthy belly fat. You won't be hungry, and you're never going to be taking a medication. How many pounds do you want to lose in 2025? PhD Weight Loss, leading the charge to make America healthy again. Text the word healthy to 717767. Just text the word healthy to 717767 or visit myphdweightloss.com, myphdweightloss.com.
Resist the Drift Marriage Conference is coming to Genoa Church on February 14th and 15th. Help you and your spouse feel more like soulmates again. Join Focus on the Family and 98.9 FM The Answer by registering now at resistthedrift.com.
Hi, it's Bruce Hooley, and here's a term we've all heard before, right? Misinformation. Well, misinformation is not exactly what you think it is, but it is when it comes to people who tell you, oh, you're just getting older, so you're going to have to deal with that pain. Not true. That's misinformation. QC Kinetics, my friends in Dublin and Gahanna, the people who are pioneering advanced biologic treatment for your joint pain. They can help you get out of pain, and that is not misinformation, because thousands of people in Columbus have taken advantage of the leadership of Dr. Ray Tessner, the founder of Grant Sports Medicine. He is a classically trained orthopedic surgeon, and he can help you get out of pain at QC Kinetics. Call for their free, no-obligation consultation to see if it'll work for you. 380-208-4544. 380-208-4544. That's 380-208-4544. Walk in pain, walk out with relief. Rehab, what rehab? Go to qckinetics.com or call 380-208-4544.
Planning for retirement is no small task. If you don't know where to start, join Rodney Peters of Peters Wealth Group every Saturday at 10.
I don't want to say too much on the communication between.
And every Saturday at 10 and 2 to Retire Ready Ohio with Rodney Peters of Peters Wealth Group. The firm offers insurance services. Investment advisory services are offered through Peters Wealth Group, a state-registered investment advisor.
Think fast. In the short time it takes to listen to this message, a small flame can turn into a big fire. Several minutes more, and thick, poisonous smoke may have filled your lungs and reduced your ability to respond. Give it 5, and your entire home may be filled with flames.
Keep breathing. We got you.
Don't let your world go up in smoke. Have working smoke alarms and practice an escape plan for you and your loved ones. Learn more at usfa.fema.gov, because fire is everyone's fight.
News, opinion, passion. Here, 98.9 FM, The Answer, anywhere you go. With The Answer's mobile app at 989theanswer.com. Also on your smart speakers, TuneIn, or iHeart.
Resist the Drift Marriage Conference is coming up quick. We're going to be in February in 2 days. And then you're going to be like, whoa, there's only 2 weeks before the Resist the Drift Marriage Conference at Genoa. Yes, indeed. Dr. Greg and Aaron Smalley are experts in this. They have turned their marriage from the situation where they were roommates into soulmates, which is the way it starts, but oftentimes doesn't stay that way. So go to 989theanswer.com and book your attendance at this conference at Genoa in Westerville, February 14th and 15th. The Smalleys will steer you through 4 impactful sessions. General admission tickets gets you into all 4 sessions with a workbook, premium experience ticket, reserved seating for all 4 sessions, the workbook, a private Q&A session, and reserved seating, not to mention a continental breakfast and a gift. Book your tickets at 989theanswer.com. So the news of the morning is, of course, the horrific crash of a U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter over the Potomac River, crashes into a U.S. Commercial regional jet, American Airlines, out of Wichita, Kansas. The regional airline is operated out of Dayton, Ohio, but was yesterday, I think, announced it's moving to North Carolina. Here is Donald Trump, who just approached the podium in the White House briefing room seconds ago.
Passengers and 4 crew collided with an Army Black Hawk helicopter carrying 3 military service members over the Potomac River in Washington, D.C., while on final approach to Reagan National Airport. Both aircraft crashed instantly and were immediately submerged into the icy waters of the Potomac. Real tragedy. The massive search and rescue mission was underway throughout the night, leveraging every asset at our disposal. And I have to say, the local, state, federal, military, including the United States Coast Guard in particular, they've done a phenomenal job. So quick, so fast. It was mobilized immediately. The work is now shifted to a recovery mission. Sadly, there are no survivors. This was a dark and excruciating night in our nation's capital and in our nation's history, and a tragedy of terrible proportions. As one nation, we grieve for every precious soul that has been taken from us so suddenly. And we are a country of, really, we are in mourning. This has really shaken a lot of people, including people, very sadly, from other nations who were on the flight. For the family members back in Wichita, Kansas, here in Washington, D.C., and throughout the United States and in Russia, we have a Russia contingent of very talented people. Unfortunately, were on that plane. Very, very, very sorry about that. Whose loved ones were aboard the passenger jet. We can only begin to imagine the agony that you're all feeling. Nothing worse. On behalf of the First Lady, myself, and 340 million Americans, our hearts are shattered alongside yours, and our prayers are with you now. And in the days to come, we'll be working very, very diligently in the days to come. We're here for you to wipe away the tears and to offer you our devotion, our love, and our support. There's great support. In moments like this, the differences between Americans fade to nothing compared to the bonds of affection and loyalty that unite us all both as Americans and even as nations. We are one family, and today we are all heartbroken. We're all searching for answers. That icy Potomac was a cold night, cold water. We're all overcome with the grief for many who have so tragically perished, will no longer be with us. Together we take solace in the knowledge that their journey ended not in the cold waters of the Potomac, but in the warm embrace of a loving God. We do not know what led to this crash, but we have some very strong opinions and ideas, and I think we'll probably state those opinions now. Because over the years I've watched as things like this happen, and they say, well, we're always investigating, and then the investigation 3 years later, they announce it. We think we have some pretty good ideas, but we'll find out how this disaster occurred, and we'll ensure that nothing like this ever happens again. The FAA and the NTSB and the U.S. military will be carrying out a systematic and comprehensive investigation. Our new Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, his second day on the job when that happened. It's a rough one. We'll be working tirelessly. He's a great gentleman. The whole group these are great people, and they are working tirelessly to figure out exactly what happened. We will state certain opinions, however. I'm also immediately appointing an acting commissioner to the FAA, Christopher Rocheleau, a 22-year veteran of the agency, highly respected. Christopher, thank you very much. Appreciate it. We must have only the highest standards for those who work in our aviation system. I changed the Obama standards from very mediocre at best to extraordinary. You remember that. Only the highest aptitude, they have to be the highest intellect and psychologically superior people were allowed to qualify for air traffic controllers. That was not so prior to getting there. When I arrived in 2016, I made that change very early on because I always felt this was a job that, and other jobs too, but this was a job that had to be superior intelligence, and we didn't really have that, and we had it. And then when I left office and Biden took over, he changed them back to lower than ever before. I put safety first. Obama, Biden, and the Democrats put policy first. And they put politics at a level that nobody's ever seen, because this was the lowest level. Their policy was horrible, and their politics was even worse. So as you know, last week, long before the crash, I signed an executive order restoring our highest standards for air traffic controllers and other important jobs throughout the country. So it was very interesting. About a week ago, almost upon entering office, I signed something last week that was an executive order, very powerful one, restoring the highest standards of air traffic controllers and others, by the way. Then my administration will set the highest possible bar for aviation safety. We have to have our smartest people. It doesn't matter what they look like, how they speak, who they are. It matters intellect, talent, the word talent. They have to be talented, naturally talented geniuses.
So that is President Trump at the briefing room at the White House talking about the crash that claimed 64 lives from the American Airlines regional jet, three, U.S. service people in the Black Hawk helicopter. What is he talking about with the Obama standards? I'll explain that to you, and we'll go back and pick up the president where he left off next on the Bruce Hooley Show.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason.
President Trump identified the special emphasis in recruitment and hiring. The FAA's website states they include hearing, vision, missing extremities, partial paralysis, complete paralysis, epilepsy, severe intellectual disability, psychiatric disability, and dwarfism all qualify for the position of
a controller of airplanes pouring into our country, pouring into a little spot, a little dot on the map, a little runway. The initiative is part of the FAA's diversity and inclusion hiring plan. Think of that. The initiative is part of the FAA's diversity and inclusion hiring plan, which says diversity is integral to achieving FAA's mission of ensuring safe and efficient travel. I don't think so. I think it's just the opposite. The FAA website shows that the agency's guidance on diversity hiring were last updated on March 23rd of 22. They wanted to make it even more so. And then I came in, and I assume maybe this is the reason. The FAA, which is overseen by Secretary Pete Buttigieg, a real winner. That guy's a real winner. You know how badly everything's running since he's run this Department of Transportation? He's a disaster. He was a disaster as a mayor.
Connected to Big Pharma's bottom line.
City into the ground, and he's a disaster. Everything's running since he's run
bullshit. And then I came in. I don't
The
think so. I think
Department
it's
of
just the opposite.
Transportation. Is
The
government
FAA website shows that the agency's guidance on diversity hiring plan, which says diversity is integral to achieving FAA's mission of ensuring safe and efficient, is part of the FAA's for the position of a controller of airplanes pouring into our country, pouring into a little spot, a little dot on the map, a little runway.
99 FM, the answer. Hey everybody, Charlie Kirk here. Making America Great Again starts with making America healthy again.
We took care of African Americans, Hispanic Americans. We took care of everybody at levels that nobody's ever seen before. It's one of the reasons I won. Because they actually came out with a directive to white. And we want the people that are competent. But now we mourn and we pray, and we'd like to ask all Americans to join me in a moment of silence as we ask God to watch over those who have lost their lives and bring comfort to the loved ones. And I just want to say God bless everyone in this room. This has been a terrible, very short period of time. We'll get to the bottom of it. So we also the same thing. We've said it many times. I've had the honor of hearing tapes. Tapes are scary, very scary tapes. You had a airliner coming in, American Airlines. He was doing everything right. He was on track. He was the same track as everybody else that came in. It's probably the same track as they've had for 25 years or more. He's coming in the path. And for some reason, we had a helicopter that was at the same height, obviously when they hit, but pretty much the same height, and going at an angle that was unbelievably bad.
News, opinion, passion. Here, 98.9 FM, the answer. Anywhere you go with the answers, mobile app at 98.9 The Answer. Smart speakers, TuneIn or iHeart.
If you're looking to remodel your home with new flooring, then I would love to help you with that project. Go to brucehooley.com and click flooring. If you're looking for carpet, you have a particular name brand carpet you're looking for, I guarantee you we will have it. If you have a certain kind of luxury vinyl plank flooring that you're looking for, because hardwood, man, that is so yesterday. Why would you put in a product that's going to cost you about 3 times as much and is going to scratch and put you out of your house when you try to refinish it for up to a week? No, luxury vinyl plank flooring is the way to go for mudrooms, for kitchens, for bathrooms, for any space really, because it's super durable and it looks exactly like hardwood, only performs better. Speaking of performing better, I promise you that you will not pay more when you do a flooring project with me than you will pay at any big box store, because we do not have high overhead. And yes, we have our own installers accountable to us. They do a phenomenal job. Lots of compliments. Go to brucehooley.com, click flooring. brucehooley.com, click flooring. So Donald Trump is at the podium in Washington, and he is talking about the plane crash that claimed 64 lives, all of them, on an American Airlines regional jet, and all 3 U.S. service personnel who were operating the Black Hawk helicopter that ran into the American Airlines regional jet as it descended to land at Reagan National Airport last night, shortly before 9 p.m. I will just say the left is going to absolutely lose its mind over what Donald Trump is saying today at the podium. And I'm going to presume that he has very good inside information on one of two things. This was pilot error by, I suppose it's possible could have been either pilot, although it certainly doesn't appear that the American Airlines regional jet was doing anything other than what it was supposed to be doing. So it perhaps could have been the military pilot, or it perhaps could have been air traffic control. Now, in his initial comments, which we played for you live shortly after 11:30, Trump started talking about how he has stiffened, in his first term, he stiffened the qualifications for air traffic controllers, and that he also mentioned last week his initiative outlawing DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, in the federal government. So he's strongly hinting that this was an error that he believes is related to someone who had a job which could have and should have prevented this tragedy, and they were not doing their job. And he is more than strongly insinuating that this person was a DEI hire. I can't imagine that he would go out on this limb unless he has strong evidence of such. But here's what I know about his reference to stiffening the hiring standards for air traffic controllers and pilots and the like. The FAA is currently getting ready to face a lawsuit that should come to trial this summer. That was filed several years ago by the Mountain States Legal Foundation. What was the Mountain States Legal Foundation's assertion in this lawsuit? That the FAA had exercised discrimination in rejecting the application of 1,000 qualified air traffic control applicants based solely on race. So these are people who were qualified to become air traffic controllers, but they were not from a racial minority group, and so they were thrown out. There are also allegations in this lawsuit that advocacy organizations for certain minorities were given coded language as to how their minority applicants could pass the exam and be given bonus points that would elevate them above white candidates who were otherwise qualified. For instance, there was a questionnaire issued that asked applicants, in which college subject did you receive your lowest grade? Now, I don't know what the relevance of that would be to becoming an air traffic controller, but those answering history or political science received 15 points on the exam. By contrast, anyone who applied and held a pilot's license, which if you're applying to be an air traffic controller, holding a pilot's license would be an asset, right? I think so. Instead, those who held a pilot's license and affirmed it on their questionnaire received only 2 points. So if you answered history and political science is the topic in which I received my worst grade in college, you got 15 points. If you played 4 or more sports in high school, you got 5 points. So I would have to have someone enlighten me as to how those two questions, how many sports you played in high school and what subject you got your lowest grade in, would have more applicability to the qualifications of someone to become an air traffic controller than the fact that they held a pilot's license. Again, this does not mean that this is exactly what happened in this crash. But the president of the United States is at the podium strongly insinuating that. And look, I will tell you, I don't think this is the time to politicize this. I just don't. He's got to be right on this, because if he is not right on this, he is going to do horrific damage and be very, very disrespectful to the people who perished in this crash by doing more than insinuating that this is related to DEI hiring practices. If it is, then unload. And he is absolutely positively unloading. Here are more of Trump's comments from the podium in Washington, D.C. about the wokeness in the Biden administration, which he is, if you mention it in this context, you are absolutely positively linking it to this airline crash.
Plan, which says diversity is integral to achieving FAA's mission of ensuring safe and efficient travel. I don't think so. I think it's just the opposite. The FAA website shows that the agency's guidance on diversity hiring were last updated on March 23rd of 22. They wanted to make it even more so. And then I came in, and I assume maybe this is the reason. The FAA, which is overseen by Secretary Pete Buttigieg, a real winner. That guy's a real winner. Do you know how badly everything's run since he's run this Department of Transportation? He's a disaster. He was a disaster as a mayor. He ran his city into the ground, and he's a disaster now. He's just got a good line of bullshit. The Department of Transportation is government agency charged with regulating civil aviation. Well, he runs it, 45,000 people, and he's run it right into the ground with his diversity. So I had to say that it's terrible. Then it's a group within the FAA, another story, determined that the workforce was too white, that they had concerted efforts to get the administration to change that and to change it immediately. This was in the Obama administration just prior to my getting there.
All right, so I'm going to pause the president there because obviously he was continuing to talk while we were in commercial. And Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy stepped to the podium a moment ago. So I'm going to try to see if I can advance my timeline here and get to Sean Duffy at the podium. And now Pete Hegseth is at the podium. So here comes Sean Duffy. This is on tape. We'll see what he has to say about the crash this morning. Again, President Trump said they have strong opinions about what caused this crash. He's certainly insinuating that it's the DEI hiring practices at the FAA that contributed to it.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I would just note the president's leadership has been remarkable during this crisis. We've had a whole of government response, local, state, federal. And when you see that kind of cooperation, it begins with the leadership in this body. So thank you for that, Mr. President. You make our jobs a lot easier. You made an important point that when we deal with safety, we can only accept the best and the brightest in positions of safety that impact the lives of our loved ones, our family members. And I think you make a really important point on that, Mr. President. That is the motto of your presidency, the best and the brightest, the most intelligent coming into these spaces. I want to take a moment and extend my condolences to the families of the loved ones. We commit to them that we are going to get to the bottom of this investigation, not in 3 years, not in 4 years, but as quickly as possible with the NTSB, who is here today, as well as the FAA. What happened yesterday shouldn't have happened. It should not have happened. And when Americans take off in airplanes, they should expect to land at their destination.
So I'm noticing an edge in Sean Duffy's voice that was not there this morning. I can only venture a guess that this means that new information has come to him since the first comments I saw him make today at 7:30 in the initial press conference from Reagan National Airport. We do have a flight log from the air traffic control. This crash happened 18 seconds after the pilots in the U.S. Army helicopter confirmed that they saw the plane. So we'll stay abreast of the story and give you the latest next.
Cloudiness this afternoon, the mild air increasing the risk of ice jams on the area rivers. High today 47, periods of rain tonight low 41. Rain and breezy for tomorrow, high 54. Cooler on.
Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. The situation in the Democratic Republic of the Congo is getting worse, even though President John Lorenzo has been mediating the conflict between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of the Congo because he wants to bring peace and stability.
The Transportation Secretary said about your leadership from the moment we found out about this. We were in contact with the White House trying to determine exactly what happened. I would echo it as well. No excuses. We're going to get to the bottom of this. We first and foremost from the Defense Department want to pass our condolences to the 64 souls and their families that were affected by this. Never should happen. And certainly the 3 service members, the 3 soldiers, young captain, staff sergeant, and the CW2 chief warrant officer.
With the names of the people, I mean the names of the people.
The Congo is getting worse, even though President John Lorenzo has been Democratic
Republic. Question about Rwanda, and it is a very serious problem. I agree, but I don't think it's appropriate right now to talk about it. But it is a very serious problem.
Coordination with American Airlines. We're in coordination very strongly, obviously, with the military. But I think that's some sort of a smart question. I'm surprised coming from you.
Hi, this is Ralph Drillinger, President and founder of Capital Ministries. I have the privilege of leading the Senate and House member Bible study every week in Washington, D.C. And I'm also the host of the new weekend program here on your radio station called Capital Ministries Weekend. Listen along as we discuss the crossroads between the Bible and politics on a timely basis.
Listen to Capital Ministries Weekend, Sunday mornings at 7:30 on 98.9 FM The Answer.
Question. Did you know that the conservative news and pop content that you're currently enjoying on this station and online is supported by advertisers? Here's another one for you. And this one is for our business audience. Are you aware that our loyal listeners eagerly engage with our advertisers because they know that these advertisers share their values and care about our programming as much as they do? Listeners, tell your favorite businesses about us. And business owners, contact us today to create and implement strategies that drive people to connect and engage with you, helping you grow and experience the value of long-term loyal customers. Join with us today to continue spreading the good word.
To learn how to reach our audience with your business's message and support this station, contact Carolyn Cassidy at 614-318-0401 or click on the Advertise With Us banner at 989theanswer.com. That's 989theanswer.com.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no coverage at all. These days, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of the biggest expenses can be your car, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan. You could save thousands with one call to CarShield. Call 800-840-1546 now to see if you qualify. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Repairs for your engine, transmission, and more can become a thing of the past. Plus, call 800-840-1546 right now and get free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options. Call 800-840-1546 today and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Just call 800-840-1546 to see if your car qualifies. 800-840-1546. That's 800-840-1546. Again, 800-840-1546. Coverage varies by plans. View contracts and exclusions at carshield.com.
Discount Shopping Club at 989theanswer.com, available by clicking on shopping when you go to the website. What will you find there? Well, it depends on what you need. These cold temperatures, although they're warming, but they're going to get cold again, you know. If you're having furnace issues, Temperature Pro Columbus, there to help. They have a furnace that will heat a home 1,200 to 1,600 square feet. That furnace originally priced at $3,800. Right now, it's only $1,900 when you buy it through the Discount Shopping Club at 989theanswer.com. Slightly bigger home, slightly bigger price, but just slightly. You could pay $4,000 for a furnace that would be equipped to heat your home. Instead, through the Discount Shopping Club at Temperature Pro Columbus, you will get one for just $2,000. All the descriptions, all the specs are right there with the furnaces in the Discount Shopping Club. But hey, that's not the only thing we have. You have to go and see. Spring is right around the corner. Lots of lawn equipment and smaller items too. Need a new mattress? Hey, there's deals on mattresses and tuition to great schools. Check it all out. Discount Shopping Club, 989theanswer.com. So catching you up on what has happened in the last 20 minutes, Donald Trump came out to the podium in the White House briefing room. The press is in there. He's giving updates on the plane crash that claimed 67 lives, 3 in the U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter that crashed into the American Airlines regional jet on descent 400 feet from landing at Reagan National Airport last night shortly before 9 p.m. Many people, a significant number of passengers, at least the 60 passengers on the jet, were coming from Wichita, Kansas, where they had been at the U.S. Some U.S. figure skating event, a championship of some sort, and a clinic. An Olympic medal couple from Russia from several years ago. Now coaches were on that flight. All on the flight have perished. They crashed into water that's 7 to 8 feet deep. 37 degrees. The river just had ice on it a couple of days ago. So 800 first responders couldn't save anybody. The plane broke into 3 pieces. Donald Trump came out. His initial comments were to ask for a moment of silence and then to talk about the tragedy and express his condolences to all the families, to the people of Russia for the losses of that couple and maybe more who were on that flight. And then Mr. Trump got into what he has done to try to raise standards at the FAA when it comes to hiring air traffic controllers. And he all but said out loud that this is some kind of the fault of DEI. There is a lawsuit against the FAA for rejecting 1,000 qualified applicants purely on race. Trump ended that. Trump ended that procedure, which was instituted by the Obama administration. And of course, because Trump ended it, Biden restarted it. So I'm going to go back to, and I said this will infuriate the left. This will absolutely infuriate the left. And Donald Trump's got to be right about this, because you cannot, this is not the time. He did get a question from somebody there about some kind of political situation in Africa, and he had the good sense to say, this is not the time to talk about that. We're here to talk about the people who died in this plane crash. And as I said, if he's wrong, if this is not attributable, and you got to believe he's got the best inside information. Sean Duffy, the transportation secretary, sounded very angry, much more angry than he was this morning at 7:30 when I first heard his comments at Reagan National. So it's my assumption, and I certainly hope they're right, that they have very strong evidence that this was an error by someone who gained their position through the compromised hiring standards put into effect first by Barack Obama and then by Joe Biden. I can't read anything else into Trump's comments than that. If he's wrong, this is really going to be a big mistake on his part. If he is right, it won't matter that he's right to crazed leftist lunatics who will not let go of the DEI chew toy that they are determined to hold onto like a pit bull is a bone. So I got to believe this is where it gets interesting. A question from CNN's Caitlin Collins to Donald Trump.
We don't even yet know the names of the 67 people who were killed, and you are blaming Democrats and DEI policies and air traffic control and seemingly the member of the U.S. military who was flying that Black Hawk helicopter. Don't you think you're getting ahead of the investigation right now?
No, I don't think so at all. I don't think with the names of the people, you mean the names of the people that are on the plane, you think that's going to make a difference? They are a group of people that have lost their lives. If you want a list of the names, we can give you that. We'll be giving that very soon. We're in coordination with American Airlines. We're in coordination very strongly, obviously, with the military. But I think that's not a very smart question. I'm surprised coming from you.
Are you blaming
please.
Thank you. Thank you, President Trump. Thank you for being here. Based on your analysis so far, do you have a sense of who is at fault? If
This
it
is
was the plane, the helicopter?
Jackie Heinrich, Fox News.
To assure people that it is safe to fly in and out of D.C.
Well, I've given you the analysis, and the analysis was based on vision. You had a lot of people that saw what was happening. You had some people that knew what was happening. There was some warnings, but the warnings were given very, very late. Those warnings were given very late. It was almost as they were given a few seconds later, there was the crash. It should have been brought up earlier. But the people in the helicopter should have seen where they were going. I can't imagine people with 20/20 vision, not seeing, what's happening up there. Again, they shouldn't have been at the same height. You're going in reverse directions or sideways directions. Obviously, you want to be at different heights. I see it all the time when I'm flying. You have planes going in the opposite. They're always lower, we're higher, so if somehow there's a screw up, there's not going to be a tragedy. It'll be close, but there's never going to be a tragedy if you're in a different elevation. For whatever reason, they were at the same elevation. And also, from the American Airlines Center, he's along the track that every plane is along. You say, what was the helicopter doing in that track? It's very sad. But visually, somebody should have been able to see and taken that helicopter out of play. And they should have been at a different height.
So there are two questions where Trump certainly is insinuating that it's either and perhaps both an air traffic control issue and pilot error on the part of the helicopter. As he noted, the American Airlines pilot is on the approach to Reagan National. He's at 400 feet, so he's seconds away from landing. Just a horrific story in the New York Post that a husband got a text from his wife, "We're coming in for landing." And he texted her back, and the text was undeliverable. So here's what we know of the air traffic control logs. 8:40 p.m. last night, the American Airlines flight begins approaching Reagan National Runway 33 from the south. At 8:48:38, so 38 seconds later, Air Traffic Control Tower radios the U.S. Army helicopter and asks, "Do you have the CRJ," and I'm not sure what that would stand for, something regional jet, commercial regional jet probably, "in sight? Do you have the commercial regional jet in sight?" The helicopter pilot confirms he sees the passenger plane and requests visual separation, confirming he is going to try to fly out of the plane's path. At 8:48:56, so 18 seconds later, the American Airlines regional jet and the helicopter collide over the Potomac at an altitude, this says, of 300 feet, as the plane was traveling about 145 miles per hour per the last recordings from the flight radar. Air traffic controllers can be heard reacting and asking, "Did you see that?" So again, all 67 people on the two aircraft, 4 in the Black Hawk helicopter, 3 in the Black Hawk helicopter on a routine, what has been described by Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth as a routine training mission, and 60 passengers and 4 crew members on the American Airlines regional jet from Wichita, Kansas to Washington, D.C., all died in the Potomac. We don't know how many died on impact. Mostly, many, mercifully, we hope, on impact. They have not recovered all the bodies. They have recovered about half the bodies at this point in time. The waters are 37 degrees. I will keep you abreast of this story as the show continues.
My name is Justin Petrichor. I'm Julian Petrichor. We run Alpha Waste Service. We offer front-load dumpsters as well as roll-off dumpsters for local residents and businesses. Our prices are set at flat fixed rates. The price we give is the price you'll pay. We don't force our customers into contracts unless they want one. We keep our customers by providing quality service at affordable prices. If you need a front load or roll-off dumpster, please visit alphawasteservice.com.
Again, that's alphawasteservice.com.
Your home is a big investment. If you live in a condominium or homeowners association, decisions by your board and community manager affect you. Is your board knowledgeable? Is your manager trained? Is your investment protected? CAI, Community Associations Institute, can give you the tools to protect your home.
So I just, this is, I didn't expect what I heard from the president, and I'll just say he better be right. I'm virtually assured he's right. If he's not right on this, then he has undone a lot of momentum that he has. It will be controversial even if he is right, because everything he does is controversial. He's calling out 2 Democratic administrations. But he is a disruptor, and he is somebody who does not mince words, and he feels, as I can fully understand why, he feels empowered by the margin of victory that he got. But again, I await further clarity as to why he is going public with this position as early as he is. Regarding the question from Caitlin Collins about, is this supposed to comfort the families? If I'm a family, I want to know. I want to know if somebody, I want to know who screwed up. I want to know if it's air traffic control. I want to know if it's the helicopter pilot. And so I have no problem with that. If I were a victim, if I were a family member of a victim, nothing the president said today would bother me unless it proves to be untrue. So that's where I stand. I appreciate you guys joining me for hour number 1. You can catch hour number 2 on the Bruce Hooley Show Facebook page or on the 989 The Answer Facebook page. Have a great day. I'm repping the LifeWise Academy gear today. I always will rep LifeWise Academy. Sorry about it, all you woke school boards out there tried to get rid of LifeWise. LifeWise, keep doing what you're doing, bringing the gospel to people. And shout out to Fellowship of Christian Athletes and their first meeting this morning at Jonathan Alder High School. Big shout out to the kids. There were like 40 or 50 kids there who trained for 10 weeks. You see it with the Ohio State football team. You see it with the Notre Dame football team. You see it with young people in our country who want to find hope and they want to find the truth. And so they're gravitating to the gospel of Jesus Christ. And it's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing. And anything I can do to further that cause, I am absolutely all about doing it. It is my first priority in life. So if you don't know that joy in your life, I certainly pray you find it. And I'd certainly be willing to help you find it. If you can reach out and get in touch with me, I'll tell you about the greatest thing there is to cope with whatever life throws at you and to have the peace of mind to know where you will spend eternity. So have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.